All right, starting with number 35 on the Chapter 1 test review sheet. Problems 35 and 36, the directions for them say, tell whether the polygon is equilateral, equiangular, or neither. Well, remember, if a polygon is equilateral, remember equal means equal, lateral means sides. That means that the sides are all equal. Remember, equiangular, equal means equal, angular means angle. That means all the angles are equal. And if it's not equilateral or equiangular, then it's neither. But if it is equilateral and it is equiangular, then remember that is called regular. I know it doesn't say anything about that on this problem, but it will on the ones coming up. So remember, to be regular, it must be equilateral and, my really poor handwriting here, equiangular. So keep that in mind. I'll reference that again in a moment. All right, so 35, I want to know, is it equilateral, equiangular, or neither? Well, looking at number 35, I'm going to pay special attention to the tick marks. I noticed that this and this and this, those sides are the same, but this side and this side is different. So most definitely, this is not equilateral. Okay, and then looking at the figure, I notice that this angle and this angle are the same, and those angles are the same, but the other angles are not marked to be the same. And the sides that form them are different lengths from the other sides, because remember, this angle is formed by that side, which has 2 marks, and that angle is formed by that side. So therefore, this is not equiangular. So therefore, the answer to this question is neither. And we'll get into more detail about opposite sides and angles later. But looking at that, it doesn't tell me all the angles are the same, and it definitely tells me that the sides are different. So number 35 is neither. All right, now looking at number 36, you notice this angle forms this side, and this angle forms this side. Okay, I just want to point that out. We'll talk more about that later. But most importantly, looking at the side lengths, see if it's equilateral. This side's the same as this side, but I don't know anything about this side, so it's not equilateral. Okay, and then, because you can't just assume. And now looking at the angles, this angle and this angle are the same, but I know nothing about that angle in reference to its tick marks anyhow, because they didn't give it to me. So therefore, it can't be equiangular. So again, the answer is neither. Now, I know that it did not ask me for one, or it did not give me one, but let me show you what equilateral would look like. That would be equilateral if you're given those tick marks. This would be equiangular if you were given those tick marks, and therefore that polygon would be both equilateral and equiangular, which means it's regular. So if you're told that something is regular, which is why I put this up here, then you automatically should know that all the angles are equal to each other and all the sides are equal to each other. Okay? Now the reason why I say that is because number 36, it says the lengths of 2 sides of a regular hexagon are 3x minus 8 and 2x minus 1. So again, the length of 2 sides of a regular hexagon are 3x minus 8 and 2x minus 1. Find the length of each side of the regular hexagon. Well, just in case you're a visual person, let's put that up there. That is a regular hexagon. And, okay, so do this. It's regular. Just a quick sketch. Okay. So since it's regular, That means all sides are equal, so
Teach
one
us the set
side
numbers.
is this. Okay, and 2x minus 1 is what they gave us to represent another side. Doesn't matter which side we put them on because they're all the same because it's regular. And hexagon meant 6 sides, which is why I put up a six-sided figure. All right, so with that in mind, it says find the length of each side. Well, I don't know what the length is, but I do know that all sides have to be equal. So I can set up an equation, not expression, an equation using these expressions, because 3x minus 8 has to equal the same thing as 2x minus 1. So now let's solve the equation. Let's get the x's together. So we're going to subtract 2x from both sides. So x minus 8 is equal to negative 1. And then let's add 8 to both sides. So x is equal to 7. Now is that my answer? No, because they don't ask me for x. They ask me for the length of each side. So that means I need to plug x into one of these and figure out what it gives me. So 2x minus 1 is the length of one of the sides. So I'm going to plug in 7. So 14 minus 1 is 13. Now if you want to double check to make sure you did the work correctly, you can plug into the other one. And when you plug into here, you get 21 minus 8, which indeed does give you 13. So the length of each side is 13. Okay? Now, so that I have some room, I'm going to erase all of that. Now, number 37 says the expressions 5x plus 5 degrees and 4x plus 13 degrees represent the measure of two angles of a regular octagon. Well, remember, if something is regular, all angles and sides are the same. So therefore, I don't know what the angles are, but this angle has to equal this angle. I could put up a diagram, again, if we needed to. But in this case, in our head, we should be getting familiar with regular, meaning equal. So I don't know what the angles are, but I do know that whatever this angle represents has to be, whatever measure it represents, has to be equal to the measure that that angle represents because it says it's regular. So let's solve this. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. So x plus 5 is going to equal to 13. And then I'm going to subtract 5, did I do that? Yeah, from both sides. And that is going to give me 8. So x is 8. Is that my answer? No, because they don't ask me for x, they ask me for the angle measure. Find the measure of an angle. So I get to pick either one of these to plug into. So I'm going to plug into 4x plus 13. So 4 times 8, notice I'm plugging in 8 for x, plus 13. So 32 plus 13. That is going to give me 45. So the measure of the angle should be 45 degrees. Now, you can check your answer by plugging it into the other expression. So what I should get when I plug in 8 for x is 45. Well, 5 times 8 is 40, and 40 plus 5 is 45. So 45 degrees is what the measure of an angle of that octagon would be. All right, and let's go ahead and look at number 38. Number 38, the directions over all of it says find the angle measures. Well, number 38, it gives me some good information. It says, given that the measure of angle QRT is 95 degrees, find the measure of QRS and find the measure of SRT. Now let's look and see what we're given. Well, they tell us that the measure of QRT is 95. Well, what is QRT? QRT is that angle. Well, they didn't mark that in there, did they? No. So let's go and let's mark that in. So the measure of this whole angle here is 95 degrees. Okay, and then they tell us that they want us to find the measure of QRS and SRT. Well, where is QRS? Well, QRS is this angle here, and SRT is this angle here. So notice they gave us the whole and they want us to find the parts. Well, they also gave us some information about the parts. They said that QRS is 6x and SRT is 12x plus 5. Well, when you're thinking about parts and whole, if you're given all the parts and the whole in some form or another, whether it's expressions or variables or numbers, always remember that two parts add to equal the whole. So I do not know what this is off the top of my head, but I do know that when I add QRS plus SRT, I should get the whole thing. Remember the angle addition postulate. So let's add those together. So I'm going to start off and I'm going to say QRS plus SRT should equal QRT. Now, you do not have to write that out, but just for reference so you can look at the diagram and see what I'm doing. QRS is represented by 6x degrees. SRT is represented by 12x plus 5 degrees. And we know that they told us the whole thing was equal to 95 degrees. So now let's solve an equation. We're back to an equation again. Well, 6x and 12x are on the same side, so I'm going to combine them just like they are. They asked me to add. So 6 plus 12 is 18. Bring down the plus 5 and the 95. Now I've got to get the x by itself, so let's start by moving this 5. So 18x is equal to 90. And then I want to divide by 18. So x is equal to 5. Now is that my answer? No, because they don't want to know what x is. They want to know what's the measure of QRS and what's the measure of SRT. Well, QRS, remember, was equal to 6x degrees. Now we know what x is. X is 5. So 6 times 5, which is 30. So the measure of QRS is 30 degrees. And they also want to know SRT. Remember, the measure of angle SRT is equal to 12x plus 5. Well, we know that x is 5, so we plug in. So 12 times 5 is 60 plus 5, and that gives us 65. Well, here's a good check. Remember, we knew both parts as expressions, but we did know that the whole had to equal 95. Well, that would mean that 30 plus 65 would have to equal 95. Well, it does. So therefore, those answers must be correct. So the measure of angle QRS is 30 degrees, and the measure of angle SRT is 65 degrees.